apps through Intune. For what purpose? I totally agree that it is for authentication. But what is the reason we are using external certificate? Because these certificates, we have certificate authority. It's a kind of role what we install in Windows Server to create a certificate authority. I don't know like much, but yes, I have a little knowledge about these small things, but yeah, uh, like we call it jumble words, right? And then we create a meaningful word or a sentence. So all the knowledge I have certificate, it is all jumbled.
Okay, got it. No, everyone will be in that stage. That is normal because
Mm.
this topic itself is a bit confusing. Not just confusing, it's a bit complex also. So let me know once you're able to see my screen. Okay, so I think we'll just cover, there's no agenda or there's no specific timelines or anything. Whenever we have time in next 2-3 sessions, we'll just cover whatever possible.
Mhm.
So um, I think we will talk about what exactly is a certificate, digital certificate. But even before we talk about anything further about CA, so it is better we understand what is symmetric and asymmetric encryption. Okay, and once we know that, at least then we can move forward with what exactly is PKI. Okay, so when it comes to PKI, there are two ways to understand. One is technically deep on how certificates are secure. Second is just setting up the infrastructure where we just install multiple tiers of Windows Server operating system, enable their roles, add their permissions, create templates. Okay, so there's two ways of understanding it, but at the first level, technically might take a long time. Okay, so you can mute that's it. Okay, there's a lot of disturbance.
Okay.
So if you have questions, unmute. So certificates is uh, various types. Okay, so various types in the sense, but uh, formats are different. Okay, just like photo, how we have .png, all that, JPEG and all, formats are different, and some serve a specific purpose. See, certificate is a file, and nothing else. It's just a file, and then it lands on a computer, and we have programs and softwares that reads that file and uses that file to encrypt something, uses that file to authenticate something. It takes the information from there. And in order for to reading that certificate, not everything can be read. Okay, so we use that certificate to read something. In order for that to be read in a normal asymmetric way of encryption, our computer or our system should hold the private key. Okay, only if I have a private key, whatever information someone sends it to me, I will decrypt it and then read it and use it. Okay, till then it is all junk data till it lands to my computer. Okay, so that is a symmetric where my computer, my mobile, my laptop has a private key. Okay, so we'll go further and we'll see in detail what are all this. So what it can be used. Okay, so for us, SCEP is most important, and we'll see in our entire flow from the device, from the certificate flow, where and all we can actually check the logs. Okay, so basically the goal is to simplify this SCEP topic, okay, and make it easy to understand for you.
So I just wanted to understand like symmetric, in symmetric, we have a private key to
We'll
decrypt.
see, we'll see, we'll see. I think I will talk about it once we come here. Okay. I was just giving you some basic thing of if you have a private key, okay? I will tell you that. That's it. So what is now PKI? Everyone we see PKI, PKI. Okay, so PKI is not new. PKI is there for like 25, 30 years, okay? The day when Windows Server was there. And the PKI technology is used there since World War II. Okay, so the same thing of RSA and then holding with encrypting something with the private key and not encrypting something with the private key. So overall, the PK infrastructure is there for a long time. But in computers, the same principles were also used, and they have created this asymmetric and symmetric way of encrypting data exchange. If I want to exchange data, I need to encrypt something so that everything becomes random numbers and digits, and I send it to you. In order to read that, you need to have a key that decrypts it. So that is the fundamental underlying principle. But who has the key? If it is a symmetric encryption, everyone has the key. Everyone, not everyone means I can share the key to everyone. But asymmetric, only you will generate a private key, you will hold the private key and then share that information. Okay. So these two concepts were there for a long time. Okay. So, and now the purpose right now today in computers and network authentication is because you have a lot of devices and networks where they want to authenticate, where they want to prove who you are with some information. Okay. So, and the way things happen, of course, we use the certificates in two systems. One is authentication, and then whether to check whether it is confidential or not. Okay. So everyone, wherever you go in the world, whoever talks about digital certificates, right, they will start giving an example of your university certificate. Why? Because that is easy to understand. Okay. So like, whichever university you hold a degree, BA, BCom, BSc, MA, whatever degrees that you have, you cannot write it in a paper and say, I hold that certificate. Right? So no one will accept that you have engineering degree based on the certificate that you have written. So even if someone types it and gives you, someone certifies, someone writes a good printout and gives you, and you show it, no one believes that. Right? It might be almost equal, but it doesn't look, or it is not like a certificate that is given by the university. Right? So I think you are following, right? So now assume that someone prints exactly the same certificate, the university certificate, and gives it to you. Dirshad, you have done engineering. Okay. But in order for me to trust that certificate, I will not believe you, but I will go ahead and check with the university whether this certificate that you have given is the valid one for Dilshad, that he has completed engineering degree. So that is the certificate. The meaning of that certificate is that. So you have proved that you have the certificate proves that you have completed the degree, and it also has your name. It also shows you who you are, what have you done. So that is the meaning of the certificate. So what is now the so and we cannot really hamper that certificate. So that the university degree certificate, no one can change it. It has its own style, format, and then even if I want to verify, I can go and check Diljit Ahmad MKC, whatever is your initials, your date of birth, your year, everything. Is that matching your thing? This is the photo. This is Diljit's photo. Can I go and check with the university? They say yes. Then I authenticated, I validated your certificate. Rest everything is not validated, whatever you do. Okay, so this is properly validating, authenticating, and then preserving your confidentiality also is a part of it. Okay, while I'm doing that, I can protect all of your name data and then ask my university whether this is the one. Okay, that is comes under privacy. But anyway, so don't get confused there. So all we need is a file. That file should be a valid file. I cannot simply push some certificates to the mobiles and say this is a certificate. Okay, so we are, I now understand. So is now that what is a certificate. So this is how it looks like. Our university certificates like a page, but it's just a file. If I click on that file, any certificate, this is the information that I see. Like if I open your certificate, it says your name, issued by university, when is it issued. A simple Microsoft certification will have validity for 3 years, right? So whatever it is. So like that, your university might not have, but the certificate will have issued to here, right? For example, this is issued to John, issued by Inter CA. So this means that this is a valid organization for me. For any, will you trust is the whole concept of PKI. Okay, I will give you a certificate named John, but this certificate, your system, it is installed in your system, in your Windows laptop or mobile. The bigger question is, do you trust this Inter CA? Whoever has issued, do you trust it? Your system should trust it. If you not trust it, it will always not believe that this is a genuine certificate. So what do we do? So what do we do to trust that certificate?
We should have a like key.
Okay. No key. How will you have the key for issuing CSC? Issuing CA is for me like a university.
Actually, what I understand is certificate authority. It's already a trusted part of the organization, so I don't think that it needs like any,
How is it trusted by organization?
because it's a like maybe the CA certificate authority server. It's a part of the same forest. No,
No,
no.
no. In a giving analogy, like if if you go to a company, right? So if you take a job and then ask you show your certificate, how will HCL trust your university the way and the way it, I mean, your certificate or it's passed that you have come from that university? How do I check you are from a valid university?
HCL has their own like maybe any organization they have mm, their coordinators, maybe the mediators who like get those verified from the universities directly. No? That's what we call background verification.
Hmm. So okay, that's correct. But um, now, if in a real world, if I want to automate that process, how will I do that? I don't want to hire in between people, mid-level people, or background check. As soon as you upload the certificate in your HCL portal, I should validate that portal. So how do you think I can do it?
There should be two different information. See, um, long back I was going through certain articles and something we called handshake. There were there are there are two two different informations. Um, those gets validated, and there is some information already into the certificate. Maybe the half information is into the certificate and half.
Hmm.
So that is how I'm unable to recall those words actually. But
Okay. Okay. So now basically what happens is this certificate, when you say issued by this company, right? So the system, when you say the system already trusts, if it is a public CA, it will probably trust because we have all this. Okay. So the way it actually validates, right? If you go to Cert Manager, I muted you, Dilshad. So if you look at the certificates, okay, so there's a lot of disturbance, Dilshad. So I'm not sure if you're in a silent room and listen.
No, no, I'm into a silent room. I don't know why this is happening.
Okay,
It's
okay.
just happening today. It never happens when we are over the teams.
Okay. So I mean, horn sounds, bike sounds, all that time. So if you look at this trusted root certificates, okay, so if you look at all the certificate, you see here, this is all this DigiCert, Global Sign, okay, GoDaddy, okay. These are all called as trusted root certificate. As long as you have a certificate here, it means that any other certificate, it will trust any other certificate that is issued. For example, if I go to tell me like, I go to my Firefox, say for example, I type in google.com and I look at this certificate, you see it is trusted actually, okay? So because the reason why it is trusted is, okay, so this has a certificate, and when I look at that certificate, you see the common name is Google. The issuer is Google Trust Services. Okay. So if you actually look at it, it is issued by like this way, and then validity is this, and then issuer name is GTS root R4. Okay. So this is the GTS root R4 is the subject name, issued by, issued name, validity. So, and if I look at this certificate, this should be in my computer or else it will never be trusted. I've never heard of this GTS root, Google Trust Services LLC. I'll see if it is there. You see here, it is there. Right? So GTS root 4 is the main certificate, and that is why it's trusted. No matter what you do, if I delete this certificate right now, this will not be even showing the lock symbol like this. Okay. So whatever it is, if I say facebook.com, we'll see facebook.com. And if I go to facebook.com lock symbol connection secure, it is DigiCert INC. And if you want to know exact symbol, if I go to view certificate, it says DigiCert High Assurance EV Root CA. And if I go to my computer, I type in DigiCert. So yeah, this one, see, DigiCert High Assurance EV Root CA. So these are all called as public certificates. By default, I trust these public certificates because Microsoft, Android, iOS, all these operating systems have worked with these people. Okay, and they have asked for all the trusted root certificates, the path where any fresh certificate can be downloaded, any root certificates can be downloaded.
So
Every
public certificates are the certificates which are used publicly, right? For different reasons.
No, I mean, there's nothing like publicly. You can use your own certificates. Okay, see, Facebook is used by everyone, correct?
Right.
So since it is everyone, I cannot go and tell, I mean, Facebook cannot go and tell every computer or install their own certificate. That's why they go and take a public certificate within this list, whatever it is, and then they will go because every computer already has that. But if Facebook creates its own internal PKI CA, and then it uses the certificate in their web server, and then that internal PK, they should go ahead and distribute to everyone, or else it will never be trusted. What if Facebook is only used in the internal Facebook organization, then they will distribute that certificate through group policy to all computers.
That's
Got
what
the point?
that's what I'm trying to say is this particular Facebook, like this is used by everyone. It's a social media application. So the kind of application what they're using, uh, is it? It's being used publicly, right, by
Hmm.
most of the population. So it's not private to their own network. So, so in this situation, like let's say Facebook is owned by you, and you want the whole world to use it. So the kind of certificate what they are using, it's a digital certificate, right?
Yeah.
So like you said that this certificate what for Facebook has, Facebook is using, it is already there on the computers, right?
Yes.
Is
The
it
root is there, not the Facebook certificate. Yeah. Correct.
when we say root, it's the issuing authority, right? uh,
Mm, mm, Not exactly an issuing authority. Anyone can issue this particular certificate. Okay. So if you look at it, uh,
so yeah, I just want to see the certificate. It was something like INC, right?
this is a certificate.
Mm,
Okay. So this is a issuer name.
okay, the screen is not that clear actually. If you can zoom it a little.
Okay.
It is DigiCert.
High
Hi.
assurance EV root CA.
Yeah. Now you are saying the root is already there on your computer. So
Yes.
how can we where can I see the root of the certificate, of this certificate?
It's here at showed you, right? So if you go to, can you see this part of the screen?
Yeah, but it's little blur.
Okay. But what is this one? There's a DigiCert High Assurance CA. So DigiCert High Assurance CA. So I double clicked it. Okay. So it is here.
So this we call a root, right? A root is already there in the
Yes.
device.
Correct.
But it's not only the Facebook who is using the
Not
certificate.
only Facebook, anyone can use it.
Yeah, any other organization can get this certificate. And
No,
since the root is here, it
no,
will be treated as trusted certificate, right?
correct. So I think the right way to use it is Facebook is now using a certificate which is signed by this company, and hence I trust this server. That is the key. Okay. So if you have a server right now in the Facebook server, in their web server, they have tied that certificate.
Now there are two types of certificate. One is like my if I have an organization, I have my own issuing like a certificate authority, right? And
Yeah,
I can use my own private certificate for my devices. And we also have different organizations who are providing the certificates. So we need not to have the certificate authority, and we can get it from externally, right?
correct.
So I don't have that depth knowledge, but yes, I'm just trying to correlate the things with you. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
if this
If you
certificate,
don't have PKI, you can go and get it externally.
okay, so PKI, if we say PKI, it is a on-premise setup, right?
No, 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 no.
No.
PKI is everything. Okay. But CA is the ADCS, the Active Directories. See, PKI is a concept of certificate of a public key encryption. See, PKI, right? Public key infrastructure. Okay. So when I
Right.
say public key infrastructure, the same DigiCert, everyone also uses the same kind of infrastructure where they encrypt something and they keep it with themselves and they'll start issuing certificates. That certificate, when they give you, you can encrypt, you can use that certificate to encrypt and store the private key and then start distributing that certificate and put it in your web server. And when someone clicks on your web server, it verifies that who issued the certificate. Okay.
And
So
that will get
the way you talk, the way we go and ask DigiCert is I generate a CSR, certificate signing request. I'll just simply go and I don't go and ask DigiCert, give me one certificate. What is the use of that certificate? It is not useful as long as I generate a private key. I'll keep the private key with me, and then I'll go and ask a CSR, the certificate signing request. Okay, and then the DigiCert or anyone will now issue a public certificate for me. Okay, I have the private key. I didn't even give to DigiCert, and then DigiCert just signed the CSR and gave me a certificate. That certificate is proof. That certificate will be only valid as long as I have my private key in my computers, in my somewhere. Okay, so that is how PKI works. PKI is you have the private key and you distribute the public keys.
No, I just want to understand the last term you use. PKI, the last line, what you said.
No, PKI is where you have the private key, okay, and the public keys are distributed.
When we say
It's
public
a
key,
certificate. I'm keeping quiet so that you think, okay? So understand?
PKI is like we have the private key and the public key is distributed.
Yeah,
So,
everyone will have the public key.
so that it should be
They
trusted,
trust
right?
it. They trust it. They trust and they can encrypt, but it
And
cannot be
what?
decrypted.
Okay. So the one who can decrypt it can only do it with the private key.
Private key.
They only have the right to get trusted, but
Yes.
decryption is only in the hands of the
Of
person who
any
created
person
it.
who has the any person. Yeah. Private key
So,
again. We'll talk about private key. We'll see. Okay. I know what happen is we'll slowly move forward, and then you might connect the dots. Okay. So let's hold on for a second. So so far in this thing, what we need to really understand is the issued by. Whoever has issued is the most important person, and our computers and our devices should be trusted. Okay, so far you hold that information. So as I told you, just like how our university certificate we have, right? Even this digital certificates will have all the information. Okay, so for whether this information is useful, yes. Okay, so because when I say when we say talk about university certificates, some might just give you marks, like you have scored so many marks. Okay, but there could be some other certificate where you are skilled to drive an aeroplane, you are skilled to drive and working in a car industry. Okay, so that is the purpose, that is called as the purpose of that certificate. Okay, so usually in our digital certificates, we have something called as the purpose of some certificate, whether it's a client authentication, whether it's a digital signature, whether it is encryption. Okay, we'll see all the different kinds of this one purpose of the certificate. Okay, the purpose is also very important. And now, issuing CA is the name of the certificate authority which issued the certificate. So whoever has issued the certificate, that's the name.
issuing CA.
Yeah, issuing CA could be anyone. So usually it's a public. Usually it's a
So,
multi-tier thing.
Raj, here have a small question. Like
Hmm.
we have a when we install Windows Server, there are certain roles, and there is a role for CA also, right?
It is,
Certificate
yes.
Authority. So that's a Microsoft Certificate Authority, right?
Hmm.
Can that be any third party authority also issuing certificate?
Third party will not be in your this one. Third party will not be in your company. Someone else. That is what third party are there. GoDaddy, all this DigiCert, right? These are the people who are third party. They have their own systems inbuilt.
So in the world, most of these third party, like the third party issuing CA, we can call them, right?
Hmm.
So the root of their certificates, whatever the root we were talking about, the root is already present, like for GoDaddy and all those who are the third party certificates provided. The roots are already there in Windows.
All the operating systems. Yes.
Okay, so even if we are deploying any certificate from third party vendor, the root will mostly the roots will be.
Mostly, yes. Most all the big companies, yes.
And there could be a possibility that the roots are not there.
I don't think any big company routes are not there. The routes are not there means only your own PK internal route will not be there. You have to distribute. That is the trusted route certificate. So when you ask me the first question, right, when it's the beginning, I don't know what is the trusted route certificate. Trusted route certificate is exactly this. By default,
Mm.
our operating systems already have this, right? If you look at it, any new computer, today you install a new computer and you will see exactly this you will see. But if you look at this,
How do we take out this from our computer? Cert dot. What do we just
no,
type
you can just
in
have
the?
certificate manager. In the search, you just set CRT MGR.
Okay.
Okay. So, and there in the trusted root certificate and then search, you'll actually see every third party and also you'll also see your computer, your company only. If you look at this, you see
CERT or it is CRT?
uh, CERT MGR.
Cert manager, right?
Hmm. You can just search CERT, then it says manage user certificates.
I think it is blocked in my device actually. Okay, no issues. I'll check it.
So yeah, I can check later. If you have administrative access in any computer. Here, I'll have all the certificates. This is the key, Dilshad, okay? So what happens in your Intune also, if you deploy a trusted root certificate, it will come here only,
But I
okay?
don't understand what is trusted root certificate. Could you just give me 30 seconds? I'll just come back from washroom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, bhai. Actually, I was trying to understand whatever you told me so far regarding the
Okay.
certificate from the time you talked about the university certificate. So, like when a university is giving us a certificate, they have that core details of the certificates, maybe some serial numbers and all those stuff. They verify from their server,
Mm,
and that is verified. But when we talk about these certificates in terms of workstations deployment and all those stuff, there are certain routes which are predefined in the operating system itself. The big giants who are
mm,
who are creating the certificates, let's say we have the certificates which we are creating on the Windows server as a root certificate authority. So how will that the certificate which we are creating from the root CA, what is the uh, like how will the root will look like in the certificate authority? Can you just show me?
okay. So if you take a Windows server, okay, and if you install ADCS, okay, so then that first thing, whatever is the server, say for example, server name is ADCS itself, okay.
Oh, okay.
So ADCS server, ADCS dot some domain.com, that is your proper server of a PKI server. So which use
Mo-
that,
Mostly we create it with a dot local or something like that.
no, forget local, okay. Let's take a production system like HCL.com, okay. So
Got
HCL
it.
has a computer in they install a laptop, sorry, they install a server, they install a role called ADCS. Okay, so let's assume ADCS is the computer of that PKI server. First time they'll install the roles, okay, they'll do everything. Okay. In real production, what happens is they'll not use that certificate for issuing certificates. So when I install ADCS, it means that the job of that server is to give certificate. If I ask certificate, that server should give me certificate. You understand? So if I ask that server ADCS, give me certificates, there is a format of request. Okay. I go and request. That is nothing but CSR, certificate signing request. So if I go and ask a certificate with all this information, my name is Rajesh, my computer name is ABCD, device name, and all that. Give me the certificate for my username and device. Okay. Its job is to give back that certificate. Okay. So what I log again say I use the certificate for authentication, encryption, all that. Okay. And it gives me the certificate. So the role of that ADCS computer is to keep on giving certificates to everyone who asks. Okay. The only challenge right now is that ADCS, they will not use it forever. What they'll do is they'll create another tier two server which gives certificates just for security because ADCS also has private key. Okay. Because it has a root that is the root. Okay. Root is the one which is the most important, which should be preserved. So in real-time productions, almost all the roots will be powered off and disconnected from the internet. Okay, keep that in mind. So
When we say a root certificate, a root is the first server which is created in the forest, right?
in first server where you have installed ADCS.
Active Directory Domain Services, right? That we
No,
call it
no,
root.
no, no, no. ADCS certificate services.
Okay, okay.
Active Directory certificate services.
That is the root server we call it.
That is the root server. That is the root PKI server. Okay.
Okay.
That is your master grandfather. Okay, like that. After that,
And
the
any certificate we are creating from there, like I am the admin for Active Directory certificate services. Any certificate which I'll create, I'll have the private key for that, right? And
yeah,
all the certificates which will get deployed, the public, we call the those public certificate, right? Those can and those certificates are just trusted certificates,
correct.
and they will not have the private key with them. They will just be trusted.
Yes, you're right. So that is well, they will never have private key.
So
Okay.
the when we say root certificate is only the certificate which is created from the certificates services server where the role is installed. That's a root CA, right?
Correct. You can see my screen, right? Okay. So this is your ADCS. Okay.
And
And
it we don't install it directly on the
AD.
Yeah, Active Directory domain service where we install the role. We create a separate server, right?
Correct. Correct. So this is your AD server. Okay. So for example, this is your AD. Okay. This is your ADCS. Okay. So you create a role. This is the ADCS is a role.
Got it.
Okay. You install it. As soon as you install it, right? So this computer adcs.ad.com. Okay. So for example, this is your ad.com. Okay. So this will now become adcs.ad.com. That is your server, right? FQDN. Okay. So now, of course, this is joined to the domain. It is irrelevant, but fine. So this
Okay.
is
So ad.com and ADCS will become adcs.ad.com. Okay. The fully qualified domain.
no. Yeah. Okay. So that is your fully qualified domain name. Okay.
Hmm.
So this is ad.com and you join this server to the domain. So it becomes this domain full, right? So what did you do? You did nothing. You install ADCS role. And after you install ADCS role, this automatically becomes the root CA for the first time. Okay. And now I go ahead and install another server. Okay. This is the tier 1. I say issuing CA1, and then this is issuing CA2. Okay. And also after I create this, what I do is I again go and add and install ADCS role. And while installing ADCS role, it asks me a question. Is this a primary root CA or are you want to be a tier 1 CA? It asks me. Okay. And I will enter, this will be my issuing second tier CA. So as soon as I click on that, it will ask me, give me the root CA. So I'll enter this root CA detail. Even while installing this also, I'll enter root CA detail.
So
After
root CA details will be adcs.ad.com.
adcs.ad.com, correct. So that is
Okay.
the information, whatever information it asks. Okay, so we will
If
enter
I
this
will say no, it will become the root CA.
root CA. Okay.
Okay, and then if let's say I already had a root CA, and while creating this tier 1, I clicked no. If this will remain tier 1 or
This
root
will
CA.
become root CA. You will have two root CAs in your company.
So
You can have it.
we can have it. There won't be any conflict.
No. Why? We have two different certificates.
And what would be what would be the difference then? Both are root CA.
It will be like one is digicert, another one is semantic. Both are different. Your computer should trust whatever it wants to trust. I'll further explain you, okay, so you'll understand. So this is root CA, this is tier 1, and now this is tier 2. Okay.
We are creating tier 1 and tier 2 for like
Sorry,
if there
this is not
for
again tier 1. This is again tier 1, but assume that as a two tier 1 servers. I can go ahead in many big companies like banks, you will have tier 2 also. Okay, so usually a multi-tier when it comes to servers. This now can issue a certificate. Okay, now we will focus. You understand this one, right? So now this we will use this one as an example. This tier 1, I will, okay, say for example, my company will now design a parking sticker application or cafeteria application. Okay. So your HCL, for example, what is this company? Instead of AD, you say HCL. Okay. So HCL will now create a parking application. Sorry, cafeteria application. Assuming. Okay. So there is a portal called as. So they have to create a web server for all that. Correct. So web server. So everyone, now not you don't will not make it complex like mobile app and all. We'll use it just web portal. So hcl.cafeteria.hcl.com or cafe.hcl.com. If you go and enter into the browser today, first of all, even if the server is there, it will show that red mark where it is not trusted.
Right. Like in past, I had gone through some websites which say it's not a trusted one.
Yeah. Why? Simply because I'll tell you, right? You should already know now. Okay. So this is cafe.hcl.com. What this guy will do, no? These people who have created cafe, it looks like this is not trusted. People might not trust my HCL cafe, though it is internal. I want it to look it genuine and authentic, so that I will use certificates for authentication to look genuine. So this is a web server certificate. So I'll go, this guy will create a CSR. This lady or whoever it is, she will now go ahead and create a CSR. She will go and ask this guy, give me one certificate. Okay. With the name cafe.hcl.com. Okay. Now, this certificate, she gets the certificate. This certificate is clearly the common name of the certificate, CN, right? CN of that certificate is cafe.hcl.com. I cannot go anywhere and use this certificate. I can only use it with the server name called cafe.hcl.com. So I will go, I'll install that certificate. I'll just double click it, enter password, whatever it is, and I'll put it here in the root certificates. Okay. I'll put it. And I'll bind this certificate to my HTTPS web URL in the web server, IIS web server, or any other Apache web server or anything. So I've tied my web server URL with my trusted certificate. Now, how will my computer here somewhere in my office trust that web server certificate? It will.
Where is this CSR self-sign request, or what do we call it? CSR?
Certificate signing request.
Okay, certificate signing request. Where is this created from?
It's created within the computer only. If you have IIS, you have an option. You can use third-party tools. You can use OpenSSL. You can use so many other options
To create CSR.
CSR. Like you can just type
What is
Google create
the
CSR.
work of CSR? To request certificate.
It's a file which asks for certificate.
And it will
it's like an application form.
Got it. It will ask for the certificate from the issuing authority, right?
Yes. So in that certificate, it will enter my name, my common name. Okay. So everything it will enter, right? So the common name is cafe.hcl.com. Okay. So validity is 3 years. All that information it will enter in the CSR and it will present that to issuing CA. Issuing CA will give me one file, one certificate called as only applicable, whatever is asked for, cafe.hcl.com, everything. Okay.
So this cafe.hcl.com, it is created with HTTP.
No, HTTPS. That was the before, right? Now if you enter HTTPS, it will work.
Before it was HTTP. So HTTP is not secure, right?
Mm-hmm.
It will show red button, right?
If you enter HTTP, it will not even check for encryption, right? Only if you enter HTTPS, it will check. If it is not there, it will show red button. For HTTP, there is no red and green. It is always working.
Okay, if we enter HTTPS, then only it will check for
It will
any.
be red or green. If you enter HTTP, no red or green, everything will work.
So HTTPS is highly secure.
Hmm.
So this CSR file which we are talking about, certificate signing in request, uh, like is it something which is bind with the URL and while creating the website?
Yes, that is what I said. You can ask for a certificate for whatever you want. You can ask for your username, you can ask for your web URL, you can ask for your server itself. Okay, so your issuing CA will be capable of providing certificates for all that information.
So this CSR will only request for the certificate for all the like for all the information what we are. CSR will have all the information what it needs to do, where it
Yes.
needs to go to, where it needs to go and ask for the certificate, right? It
Mhm.
has all the information.
Correct.
So if we are supposed to provide the certificate from tier 1, tier 2, or maybe root CA, all those information is there in CSR, and CSR is only going to
No,
upload.
no, 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 you got confused. So far, let me complete, then you'll understand. So where was I? I told I'll get a CSR, I'll get a certificate. With now this certificate is there. So I have binded this web server with cafe.hcl.com, right? Which is what it means is my web server is secure. Okay, that's all is that. So far, that is how it is. But this computer, if I type in https cafe.hcl.com, it will still show red. Why? Because the certificate which this was binded is not trusted. Why? Because this certificate here is not installed in the trust store. Understand? So now they have to, these root CA, right? This root CA, they have to export this root CA. Okay. They also have to export this tier 1. Okay. And now deploy this to this machine so that this cafe will be trusted. So the job in every company is to export the root and intermediate tier 1 CA and put it in all computers.
Intermediate um, servers, intermediate certificate issuing servers are the servers which are additional root like which are additional certificate issuing servers other than root CA, right? Intermediate we call it, right?
It is the same. This and this is the same. Only thing is we will turn off this one or it will be offline. Okay. This is now the only the person who only issues certificates will be all these.
Tier 1 and tier 2 which
They
we
will keep
have,
on issuing certificates.
but we will call them intermediate.
Intermediate, yes. These are all intermediate servers. This is intermediate server. This is intermediate. This is only the root. All these intermediate servers are also trusted by root servers. If you, I can
So
trust this server. Why? Because it is trusted by root.
because we have entered the details of the
Correct,
root
correct. You are right.
before we created this one.
Yes.
But now I just want to understand few things. In the last this one, I don't think that my mouse cursor is going to work out on this screen, right?
Mhm.
On the left hand side, where you have created in the extreme left hand side, there is a device you have created, right? It's like
Yeah.
a computer, right? Which
Mm-hmm.
wants to open the cafe
Mm.
cafeteria application, right?
Mm.
It's a web URL, right?
Mm.
So the URL which we are creating hcl.com to make we are discussing about to make it trusted URL
Yeah.
for HCL,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So for that we should have the CSR. CSR is something.
No, why CSR? Root certificates. CSR is nothing. CSR, if I see, CSR is an application form. If you go to hospital, you'll write all the details and they will admit you. If you go to university, you write all the details, your university number and everything, they will give you certificate. I'm pushing the root. Root is a separate. I already installed root. I already installed tier 1 long back. I take those root certificates and put it in all computers so that any of my company, today he creates cafe, tomorrow he'll create for parking, other day he'll create for HR, payroll, everyone.
CSR is nothing but the it can be a
No, you
user.
have to forget CSR now.
Okay, it's just the
No,
information
you have to forget it. Forget it.
we are
Forget
supplying.
it. You will understand once you understand everything. Don't think about CSR. Forget it. Remove that in your mind. So what you only have to remember is root and then intermittent. The intermittent actually gives the certificate for cafe.hcl.com. How will I trust cafe.hcl.com? In order to trust, I have to trust this tier 1 and root CA. For that to trust, I will put root certificate here.
So
So if you look at my this one, I have a desktop computer. Okay. I open any certificate, it gave me issued to. Okay. Issued to this and issued by this. So it's a self sign. If issued to and issued by is this, it's a self sign, right? So I can further go and check any other computers related. Okay, let me check this one. That's the PS1. So these are all root certificate. What I'll do is I'll check my personal computer. Certificate path is not there. I go to my personal store and I'll click on certificates. You see, all these are the certificates that issued by me. Okay. So you see, if I click on any of these computers, okay, and if I click on this path, so this is your phone. I don't want to use the phone, so I'll use this my name. Okay. This is issued to by name, issued to my name, issued by Windows Hello. The certificate path, as you can see, is hello is the intermittent and the root is internal corporate root. So I click on root, again certificate path, you see, that is the root it is. So that is how it is. If you go to any other website, in fact, so this, if you go to HCL, if I go to V certificate, this is user trust RSA certified authority is the root. Okay. So this is issued to Greater Manchester, issued by New Jersey. Issuer name, subject name, common name is hcl.com. If I remove this certificate, you can test it in your test computer. Go to the root certificate and delete this certificate. User Trust RSA Certification Authority and type hcl.com. It will be red. It will not be, lock symbol will won't be there.
okay, so can we try that?
No way, I don't want to try. This is my company computer. I have test computer.
Yeah, I do have it.
Yeah, you can try that. So furthermore, so if you actually go now, what is symmetric encryption? So this is again very basic. Okay, so if you look at
Can we just go back to the same where you made the drawings?
oh, okay.
Just where you just draw the root certificate, all those stuff. So, like we have created the cafe application, and we want that to be trusted by the computer. It should have both the certificates and the roots certificate as well as the um, tier 1 certificate, right?
Hmm.
Am I
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And if my issuing CA is tier 2,
Mhm.
then my computer should have tier 2 certificate as well as the root CA certificate, right?
Till the root. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 1, and then root.
And if I have created the certificate from tier 1, my host should have
Tier
tier
1 and
1,
root.
tier 1 and root only.
Yes.
And if it is from tier 2, then it should have the
Full.
tier.
That's called a certificate chain. Up the chain you need to have.
But why, like for tier 2, it should have 1, 2, and root, and just for tier 2, it should only have tier 2 and the root.
Why? Because that's how it is. Why? Because you need to trust the entire route, no, entire chain. If you want, if
I
I give
understand.
you,
See, my issuing certificate authority, the root CA, and we can just use root CA also, right? We don't have to have tier 1 and tier 2. But if
you
we
don't
are
have to have.
creating more tiers, it is just for like some, if there is some failure, right? So rest of if there is some failure to, let's say if a tier 1 failed,
Hmm.
and the server collapsed, and are my certificate, if I'm creating any certificate from tier 2, then the host shall only have tier 2 and the root, because tier 1 is no more there, right?
Repeat again.
Let's say the tier 2, it has collapsed, it's not working.
Okay.
Uh, okay, due to some reason, whatever failure, it never turned up. So if I'm creating a certificate from tier 2 and tier 1 is collapsed, so my host should only have tier 2 and a root CA
Root.
certificate,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
Will it not search for tier 2 if let's say if there has been Windows server failure due to some reasons? Will it not wait for the certificate from tier 2, tier 1?
Certificate is issued only once, right? Whichever is available, it will be issued. After that, why will it keep checking the servers,
Hmm.
right? So the other, yeah, normally, see, whatever questions you have, whatever confusions you have, everyone has, even I had. The
Right.
certificate authorities are only issued once. If you, it is only job is to give certificate. It will never go back and check. There is other way to check. It's called as certification or revocation list, okay, for expired certificate. So that is a different thing. But we only talk to PKI only when I need a certificate, or else I will never go back and check.
Okay, so this certificate are used for? What are the purpose of the certificates?
We'll talk about that later.
It can be application, it can be
Anything.
VPN, email encryption, whatever, right? If it is
Mm,
application, and if it's a, are we also using it for client applications or just web-based application?
we'll see. Okay, so I think, see, the way we think about, we don't say VPN, no one uses VPN for certificates. Okay, we use authentication to VPN. It's a client authentication, either username based or, I mean, the certificate based authentication we use instead of username. And that certificate authentication is based on the system name. To trust the system, you trust the VPN. So that is the logic there. So we don't use certificates for VPN. We don't use certificates for Wi-Fi. Okay. We use certificates for authentication for Wi-Fi. There's a lot of difference, right? So we authenticate using certificates to get Wi-Fi connection. So that is the use of the certificates. Okay. Or server authentication. There are only two: encryption, server authentication, and client authentication. So client authentication can be based on your username, your VPN, your device name, or anything. And server authentication is exactly what I'm telling right now, https://cafe.htl.com. You take the server and bind it to your web server, IIS or Apache, so that all the websites we talk about is a server authentication.
Right.
We are authenticating the server whether it is trusted or not. How are you authenticating? Because I already have the root of the certificate that you asked for that certificate. You cannot go and ask some uh, hacker
What are,
certificate. It will not be
what,
trusted.
so you said like if we want to have trust website, we have to bind the certificate with the web server, right?
Hmm.
So which certificate are we binding? The public wala,
No, we are.
or
They will give you a certificate. You just paid money and purchased, right?
who will give the certificate?
Who will give the certificate is the PKI will give you the certificate. I told you, right? The person who is responsible for that the cafe, she will go and ask, give me a certificate. Because it is internal HCL, she will not pay money. If it is outside, she has to pay money.
Because HCL have their own PKI
Free.
infrastructure. PKI infrastructure is where we talk about certificates and all those stuff, right? That
PKI
is
infrastructure, yeah, PKI infrastructure is a technology, is a mechanism, is a server tier where it is responsibilities to give certificates. Understand, right?
got
Certificates.
it.
To give certificates.
Got it. And PKI can be this Microsoft
Internal or
wala,
external.
and if it is
Internal is Microsoft freely you can install in a web server. Linux also you have PKI.
okay, so
It's
in
just a
Linux,
software.
in Linux also we have PKI.
I think some say Linux has it. They install some external packages, you'll get it.
And it's a
Don't break your
Microsoft
head
wala.
there. Don't break your head there. You only worry
Okay.
about Microsoft, okay?
Okay. Okay. Yes. Yes. I have to.
Yeah. No, because see, it's a huge. I'll tell you, 15 years experience we have only for PKI. The job is whole life they are spent on PKI. It's a very complex subject in big companies. Okay, you cannot match anyone. Take it from
Right.
me. Okay, you all will always job is to work with the. If you are working with big enterprises, who is your customer? Which company you work?
HCL only, yeah.
Which company? Which customer is you work?
Um, I'm in transformation, so it's yeah, like after 2 3 months, it can be any organization.
Which
I have
customer you right now working?
I'm working for Altera. It's Intel.
If you go and ask Intel, Intel themselves will have some 5, 6 or 10 experts in PKI who have spent their entire career in PKI for 10, 20 years. Okay.
Could be, yes.
So you will never match their knowledge. Even I will never match. Anyone will not match their knowledge. But we only require some level of knowledge where we can confidently talk to the PKI team. Okay. And also understand what exactly you need. Okay. For us, we can understand at a very good level. Okay. There is nothing, we'll understand a lot of things. So our Android requires certificates. Okay. Our Mac OS requires certificates. Windows all require certificates. What certificates it requires? It requires user-based and machine-based. And that we know, we'll go and ask PKI. They will go ahead and create and give it to me. Okay. So the way I deploy this certificate signing request is through Intune. Intune has a mechanism where Intune connector installs in between, and it goes and asks on behalf of the machines to deploy certificates. So it's a very easy. Slowly, if you start learning and installing and thinking, it is. If you go and ask any Intune L2, L3, L4 guys, the only subject they will have not knowledge is the PKI. Rest everything they know. This they will not know.
Right.
Ask anyone in your own
Yeah, I
company
know.
only.
Correct, you are right. Like, that's the reason I'm here with you.
Yeah. Even I know. Even this was my last subject. I mean, I did 4, 5 projects. Then, even then, it is like somewhat okay, like that. So that's how it is. I mean, I worked hard. Okay, I learned a lot of subjects, lot of YouTube videos, asked people, and then I was always getting confused. What is all this? But someday I have to learn because I know many people outside don't know. So I have to know. So that is where now I can, if someone asks a PKI deployment, they ask me in my company. So I can confidently go ahead and start doing it. So it's nothing, only 1 or 2 times it was difficult. After that, it becomes a habit. So what you have to break your head is simply this one. Okay. So now we're only talking about web server certificate with PKI. So the key is simple. Your system should have root and intermittent certificates. Those are called as trusted root certificates. And we have from Intune, you can go ahead and deploy trusted root certificates. Okay. And you should ask the team, PKI team, to give me the trusted root certificates.
So why we say trusted root? I just want to understand some meaning from this name.
See, the name is, see, how do you trust? Why should this computer trust cafe.hcl.com? It can be some hacking site, no? Tell me first. Think and tell me.
Yeah, correct. So the root is already predefined in the Windows, right? That's the reason.
No. You have to answer logically so that you'll understand. Why should this computer trust cafe.hcl.com?
Because it is already bind with this. The website is a web server where this website is created. It is already bind to the root CA. Issuing
Which root CA?
this adcs.ad.com and the tier 1 or maybe
But
tier.
why should I trust? Why should I trust? Because I trust this root CA. You understand? This is because I trust HCL root CA. That's why I trust this one.
Right. Okay, because it is already trusted by the domain. Active Directory.
No domain. Because I trust the root CA. I trust this cafe. Why I trust root CA? You came and deployed my root CA, that root CA to my computer in my trusted computer store. That's why I trust. Anything that is there in my computer store, trusted computer store, in the cert.manager, right? If you go to cert MGR, you'll see trusted computer store. So that whatever is the trusted computer store, I'll blindly trust.
Got it.
Okay. And if I take a new computer, I'll have all the trusted stores, JioTrust, Global Sign, Verizon, DigiCert, but I'll not have HCL root CA. My job is to put that HCL root CA into your computer into the trusted root store, so that anyone who like cafe.hcl.com, parking.hcl.com, hiring, payroll,
how do
all
we
the
deploy these certificates? Like let's say my device, my computer, what I'm using, it is domain join, HCL domain join. So
how do
certificates
you
are
deploy? How do you deploy it if it's a domain joined? Is simply group policy.
group policy, right?
Yes, or Intune.
Right. Intune trusted root certificate we have, yes.
Correct. It's what you know what it asks in question. It doesn't ask anything. It just asks to upload that root certificate. If I go to intune.microsoft.com, if I go to certificates, can you see my screen?
Shall I just give you my credentials for Intune?
No. Wait. You can try there. 1 second. Why? Because again, I don't want to sign out. Okay, because I'm not showing anything secret here. So if I go to devices and if I go to configuration, you see in the trusted certificate, if I click now, it doesn't ask me anything. It just asks me to upload the root. And where do you want to upload? You see here. If I upload, it asks me where do you want to upload certificate store root. If it is an intermittent, it will ask me computer certificate store intermittent. And if it is
Intermediate, yeah.
if it is asked user based certificate intermediate, so it will ask here. So root, intermediate, and intermittent, all when user is all different. So
Can
it
you
has
just click on the drop down menu? So the certificates when we are creating from the root CA, will any new certificate, will we get the option computer certificate store, root, intermediate, and user certificate store? All these information, like we will see all this information while creating
where.
a new certificate from the issuing certificate authority.
Why will you see there? Why should you
Asking.
see there? No, you will not see there, right? It's a certificate. It depends where do you want to come and put it. If you put a computer certificate in a user certificate, it's a useless thing.